Pixar shared universe. The Pixar shared universe theory. For over a decade, fans meticulously constructed elaborate timelines connecting every Pixar film into one continuous narrative spanning thousands of years. The theory gained massive traction online, with detailed infographics and video essays attracting millions of views. The evidence seemed compelling. By and large, the megacorporation from Wall-E appears in multiple films, including Toy Story 3, where it manufactures batteries. The Pizza Planet truck from Toy Story shows up as an Easter egg in nearly every Pixar film. The code A113, referencing the classroom where many Pixar animators studied at California Institute of the Arts, appears hidden throughout the films. The most elaborate version, claimed Brave, introduces magic that leads to animal sentience in Ratatouille and talking cars in Cars, eventually culminating in machines dominating Earth in Wall-E. Director Pete Docter, producer Jonas Rivera, and Chief Creative Officer John Lasseter have all explicitly stated that the Easter eggs are simply fun references and inside jokes between films. Pixar's official position is that each film exists in its own universe, with its own rules. The connections are intentional fan service, not canonical story elements. The shared universe timeline contradicts fundamental aspects of multiple films, requiring increasingly complex explanations the filmmakers never intended. Rey Kenobi theory. Rey is Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter. Before The Rise of Skywalker revealed Rey's heritage in 2019, this theory dominated Star Wars fandom from 2015 onward. Fans compiled extensive evidence. Rey demonstrates powerful Force abilities with minimal training, similar to Obi-Wan's natural gifts. She speaks with a British accent, despite growing up on Jakku, matching Obi-Wan's accent. She lives on a desert planet, mirroring his exile on Tatooine. When Rey touches Luke's lightsaber in The Force Awakens, it calls to her, which fans argued was Obi-Wan's influence. Ewan McGregor's voice cameo in Rey's vision seemed to confirm the theory. The theory suggested Obi-Wan had a secret relationship, possibly with Duchess Satine from the Clone Wars animated series, producing a child who became Rey's parent. Then, The Rise of Skywalker revealed the truth. Rey is Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter, the child of his failed clone son. Director J.J. Abrams confirmed in interviews they considered the Kenobi option, but ultimately chose the Palpatine connection. The Kenobi theory, despite its popularity and compelling evidence, was never the plan. Looper paradox solution. Looper resolves its time travel paradoxes logically. When the film released in 2012, fans immediately constructed elaborate explanations for how the film's mechanics worked without contradictions. The movie features assassins, called loopers, who kill targets sent from the future, eventually closing their loop by killing their older selves. Fans created detailed diagrams showing branching timelines and quantum mechanics interpretations. The theory suggested when young Joe allows old Joe to escape, they create a split timeline where both can exist without paradox. Fans pointed to the diner conversation where old Joe's memories change as evidence of sophisticated temporal logic. The theory argued this demonstrated the film understood the grandfather paradox and solved it through many worlds interpretation. Director Rian Johnson has been remarkably candid about the reality. He deliberately ignored the paradoxes because trying to make time travel logic work perfectly would derail the story about violence, sacrifice, and breaking cycles. Johnson explicitly stated he doesn't think the time travel makes sense and doesn't care. He told audiences not to overthink it. The fans constructing elaborate solutions worked harder on the logic than the filmmaker did. Avatar Ferngully remake. Avatar is a deliberate remake of Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. This accusation has followed James Cameron's film since its 2009 release. The plot similarities are undeniable. Both feature a human protagonist working for a destructive corporation exploiting a pristine forest. Both heroes fall in love with a native woman from a spiritual, nature-connected culture. Both climax with natives fighting back against machinery to save their home. Both feature mystical trees as spiritual centers. The aesthetic similarities extend beyond plot, with vibrant colors, bioluminescent plants, and clear environmental messages. Fans pointed out Ferngully was released in 1992 and became a cult classic among millennials who grew up to work in Hollywood. James Cameron has provided documented evidence of Avatar's origins. He conceived the story and wrote an 80-page scriptment in 1994, only 2 years after Ferngully's release and before its cultural impact. Cameron stated his actual influences were Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter novels and his environmental concerns from deep-sea exploration. He's pointed out the plot structure both films share is a common narrative going back centuries. Cameron maintains he never saw Ferngully before making Avatar, and the similarities are coincidental. Alien android theory. Ellen Ripley became an android between Alien and Aliens. This theory emerged as fans tried to explain Ripley's enhanced abilities in the sequel. In Alien from 1979, Ripley barely survives through luck. In Aliens from 1986, she operates complex machinery, leads military operations, and fights the Xenomorph Queen. The theory suggested Weyland-Yutani secretly replaced her with an android during her 57 years in hypersleep or medical examination. Fans pointed to her superhuman endurance, calm under pressure, and Burke's interest as evidence. Some versions proposed she became a hybrid, explaining enhanced abilities while maintaining emotions and maternal instincts toward Newt. Director James Cameron explicitly denied this in commentary tracks. He explained Ripley's capabilities come from experience, rage at the company, and protective instincts. Cameron deliberately wrote her as someone hardened through trauma, not technological enhancement. Sigourney Weaver confirmed she and Cameron discussed Ripley's arc as entirely human evolution through adversity. Ripley remains fully human through 3 films, only becoming a hybrid in Alien Resurrection after being cloned with xenomorph DNA. District 9 sequel, Christopher Johnson would return in exactly 3 years as promised. District 9 ends with the alien Christopher Johnson promising Wikus he'll return in 3 years to cure his transformation. Released in 2009, this made 2012 the promised return date. Fans treated this as a sequel guarantee. Director Neil Blomkamp achieved massive success with his debut, earning 4 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, on a $30 million budget. The film grossed over $200 million worldwide. Studio support seemed inevitable. By 2012, when the promised date arrived, expectations peaked, but 2012 passed with no sequel. Then 2015, then 2020. Neil Blomkamp has consistently stated he has no plans for a sequel, despite studio interest and fan demand. Blomkamp explained the ending was designed as ambiguous and bittersweet, not a sequel hook. Christopher Johnson's promise was meant to give Wikus hope, not establish a franchise timeline. In recent interviews, he suggested audiences should question whether Christopher Johnson can actually help or even survives the journey home. The ambiguity is the point. The widespread belief that District 9 was setting up sequels fundamentally misread an ending designed to remain unresolved. Before we continue, if you're into this kind of content, I create videos like this all the time. A subscription would mean a lot. Frozen Tarzan theory. Tarzan's parents are Anna and Elsa's parents from Frozen. This theory went viral after both Disney films were released. The evidence seemed solid. Both sets of parents die in shipwrecks. Frozen is set in the 1840s, while Tarzan is set in the late 1880s. The Arendelle king and queen die when their ship sinks. In Tarzan, a British couple survives a shipwreck off Africa, builds a treehouse, and has a baby before being killed. Director Chris Buck worked on both films, and he playfully encouraged the theory in a 2015 interview, saying he liked to think the parents were heading to a wedding, shipwrecked off Africa, and had Tarzan. His comment went viral and was treated as confirmation. Buck later clarified he was entertaining a fun fan theory, not confirming canon. Timeline inconsistencies make the connection impossible. The shipwreck in Frozen happens in the North Atlantic, while Tarzan is in Africa. The time gap is wrong. Disney's official position, confirmed by Buck and Frozen co-director Jennifer Lee, is that each film exists in separate continuity. The theory was a delightful coincidence, not intentional world-building. Pacific Rim Cloverfield. Pacific Rim and Cloverfield exist in the same universe. Fans argued Clover from Cloverfield in 2008 could be an infant kaiju, the same species from Pacific Rim in 2013. Both feature enormous creatures attacking coastal cities. Both involve scientific mysteries about origins. The theory suggested Clover was a scout before full invasion, with humanity developing Jaeger technology in response. The 5-year gap between films could be in-universe timeline progression. Some versions incorporated Cloverfield's viral marketing about Taguato, suggesting they discovered the breach while drilling. Director Guillermo del Toro explicitly denied any connection. Del Toro explained Pacific Rim was his love letter to Japanese kaiju films and meta-anime, specifically Godzilla and Neon Genesis Evangelion, with no connection to the Paramount and Bad Robot franchise. The kaiju are bioengineered weapons by alien precursors, while Clover appears to be a deep-sea creature. The monsters function differently and exist in completely separate mythologies. Del Toro confirmed Pacific Rim is standalone and similarities are coincidental. Tron Legacy Flynn. Kevin Flynn never escaped the grid. This theory proposed Flynn's sacrifice and reintegration with Clue trapped him permanently rather than saving his son Sam. The film shows Flynn merging with Clue in an energy burst, supposedly destroying both and allowing escape. Fans argued the visual ambiguity left his fate uncertain. The theory suggested Flynn's consciousness couldn't die since he existed as data, meaning reintegration might have created a combined entity still trapped. Some proposed Flynn achieved digital immortality, becoming one with the grid. Evidence included Sam's excessive grief and themes about programs achieving sentience. Director Joseph Kosinski definitively addressed this in interviews and commentary. Kosinski confirmed Flynn dies during reintegration. The act destroys both Flynn and Clue's code, creating the energy burst that allows escape. Flynn's sacrifice is permanent and complete. Kosinski explained this was essential to the emotional core, Flynn finally choosing his son over his digital creation. The ambiguity was visual stylization of digital death, not narrative uncertainty. Fifth Element sequel. The Fifth Element was setting up a sequel. When the film concludes in 1997, Lilu warns that the great evil returns every 5,000 years, implying the cycle continues. Fans interpreted this as sequel bait. The film's box office success, earning over $260 million worldwide, made sequels seem inevitable. Lilu's statement created theories about future cycles, whether descendants would face the evil, or if Corbin and Lilu would fight again through suspended animation. The elaborate world-building suggested a universe rich enough for multiple stories. The 5,000-year cycle seemed designed for prequel or sequel stories. Rumors throughout the late 90s and early 2000s kept hopes alive. Luc Besson has repeatedly stated he never planned a sequel. He conceived The Fifth Element as complete and self-contained. Besson explained Lilu's warning was meant to provide closure with cosmic perspective, not set up another film. The 5 millennium timeframe puts the next cycle so far in future, it's irrelevant to the characters, which was intentional. He's turned down multiple sequel opportunities, maintaining the story was told completely. Prometheus standalone theory. Prometheus wouldn't connect to Alien. Before the 2012 release, director Ridley Scott described Prometheus as standalone science fiction exploring human origins. Scott emphasized that while sharing the same universe as Alien, it wasn't a direct prequel and wouldn't feature xenomorphs. He stated Prometheus would ask questions about creation, with the Alien connection being tangential. Marketing deliberately obscured connections. Scott's insistence this was different, more philosophical than horror, convinced portions of the fanbase. Then, Prometheus revealed extensive connections. The engineers created humanity and the black goo bioweapon leading to xenomorphs. The Deacon proto-xenomorph appears in final scenes. The planet is near LV-426, and the ship is an engineer vessel, like the derelict from Alien. Ridley Scott later admitted he'd been deliberately vague, but Prometheus was always intended as a direct prequel. Alien Covenant in 2017 made connections even more explicit. Fans who believed Scott's pre-release statements about independence were misled about a film that was absolutely an Alien prequel. Children of Men Hope. Key's baby dies shortly after Children of Men ends. This cynical interpretation suggested director Alfonso Cuarón created false hope, with humanity's extinction remaining inevitable. The 2006 film shows Theo getting Key and her baby to a boat called Tomorrow, heading to the Human Project. Theo dies from wounds as the boat approaches through fog, ending before showing the project or confirming it exists. Fans argued this ambiguity meant the project might be myth, the baby might not survive, or one child can't save the species. The film's relentlessly bleak tone supported this. Every hope is crushed. The theory suggested Cuarón's message was about finding meaning in struggle itself, not success. The fade to white without showing the project seemed deliberately frustrating. Alfonso Cuarón directly contradicted this. He stated the Human Project is real, Key and baby survive and reach it, and humanity has a chance. Cuarón explained he ended where he did because Theo's story was complete. The fade to white represents hope and rebirth. The film's message is ultimately optimistic despite the harsh journey. Elysium Chappie universe. Elysium and Chappie share the same universe. This theory connected two Neil Blomkamp films from 2013 and 2015, both set in future Johannesburg with similar aesthetics. Fans pointed to visual consistency, both featuring advanced robotics, class disparity, and gritty near-future settings. The theory suggested Chappie could be a prequel showing AI development leading to Elysium's divided society. Both feature corporations controlling technology. Both show similar South African architecture and weapons. Consciousness transfer in Chappie could explain Elysium's extended lifespans. Robot police could be early versions of security systems. Neil Blomkamp explicitly denied any connection. He explained both are set in Johannesburg because that's his home and he wanted to showcase South African locations in science fiction. Similar aesthetics come from his personal style and same design teams, not shared world building. Each film has internal logic that would contradict if combined. The technology doesn't align. They're separate thought experiments exploring different aspects of inequality and technology. Independence Day sequel. Will Smith would return as president in Independence Day: Resurgence. Between 1996 and the 2016 sequel, fans spent 2 decades assuming Will Smith's Captain Stephen Hiller would be central to any continuation. The natural progression seemed obvious. Hiller would become president after saving Earth. Smith had become a massive star, and Independence Day was key to that success. Promotional materials for Resurgence remained vague about Smith's involvement, which fans interpreted as protecting a surprise. The sequel's plot about a return invasion seemed designed for an older Hiller in power. Then, the film revealed Captain Hiller died in 2007 while test piloting alien hybrid technology 11 years before Resurgence. His death is mentioned in dialogue, but Smith doesn't appear. Director Roland Emmerich revealed Smith was offered a role, but declined, choosing Suicide Squad instead. Rather than recasting, Emmerich killed Hiller off-screen. Smith later stated he didn't connect with the script. The widespread assumption Smith would return as president was completely wrong. Gattaca sequel setup. Jerome survives at the end of Gattaca. The 1997 film concludes with Jerome climbing into the incinerator as Vincent's rocket launches. The scene is deliberately ambiguous. Jerome places his silver Olympic medal into the incinerator with him. Fans interpreted the silver medal as a hint Jerome changed his mind, that the medal burning was symbolic and Jerome survived. The theory suggested Gattaca was leaving the door open for a sequel. Jerome's survival would allow exploration of rebuilding after giving away his identity. The ambiguous framing seemed intentional. Jerome's arc involved learning to accept imperfection through Vincent, so surviving would complete his redemption. The film's themes about transcending genetic determinism would be reinforced if Jerome chose life. Director Andrew Nichol clarified Jerome definitively dies. Nichol explained Jerome's decision was his final act of agency, choosing how his life ended. The silver medal represents acceptance of second place. Jerome's death completes the parallel with Vincent, both achieving their dreams through sacrifice. The ending was closure, not a sequel hook. Dredd Total Recall. Dredd and Total Recall share a universe. Both films, released in 2012, depicted dystopian futures with massive cities and class stratification. Both feature towering megastructures housing millions. Dredd's Megacity 1 contains 800 million residents. In Total Recall, the United Federation of Britain and the Colony are Earth's only habitable zones. Both use similar aesthetics: gritty sets, neon lighting, brutalist architecture. Fans theorize the films depict different regions of the same world. The 2012 release seemed too coincidental. Studios, directors, and producers explicitly denied connection. Pete Travis stated Dredd was based purely on the British comic 2000 AD. Len Wiseman confirmed Total Recall adapted Philip K. Dick's story with no coordination with other studios. The similarities are coincidental, both drawing from common cyberpunk tropes. The films exist in separate continuities with different rules and histories. No shared universe was discussed or planned. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing so you catch every new video. Thanks for watching.